So should go live in just a minute. Hey everybody, we're just gonna start in a couple minutes. So hang tight with us if you don't mind. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I am Joanna Ross. I am a community manager at DevPost, and we are working with the GE Healthcare team to run this competition, and we really appreciate your participation and for checking in with us today. So what we're going to do today is just run through a couple of basics about the competition at first. And then I'm going to turn it over to Anish Patankar, who is the Chief Product Officer for the GE Health Cloud. And Anish is going to dive into some more detail about the platform and the background of how the competition came together. And then we'll open it up for general Q&A and give you a chance to type your questions into the chat window on the right-hand sidebar of the live broadcast on YouTube. So without further ado, I'm just going to go over a couple basics about the competition, which you may already know, but just to do some brief review. In order to participate and be eligible for prizes, you do need to be registered for the competition. The URL is gehealthcloud.devpost.com, and you need to submit your application by Tuesday, February 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern. That means that we need to have all the pieces of your submission, including the complete submission form, the application and testing link, etc., submitted by 5 p.m. on that date. Just so you know, you're able to start your submission at any time up through the deadline and then continue editing it as many times as you'd like. So We do encourage you to get started on that early so that we can alert you to any issues or any components that might be missing and give you enough time to complete your submission way ahead of the deadline. In terms of eligibility, we are accepting submissions from individuals and organizations who are based in the US. And of course, the main requirement is to submit a cloud-based healthcare software application that addresses either a clinical, a financial, or an operational point for healthcare providers and networks. We already talked about this, so I'm just going to skip that. If you need help and can't get your question answered through this webinar, you are welcome to always email us at support@devpost.com. We check that daily and respond pretty quickly. We also have a forum set up for the competition. You can find the link on the competition homepage, but here it is right now. It's gehealthcloud.devpost.com/#river. And you can also post a question to the discussion board, which is linked from the competition homepage. And then again, we'll have open Q&A at the end of this webinar. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Anish, who can give us some greater perspective on the GE Health Cloud and how GE is hoping to partner with software vendors like yourselves through this competition.
Thank you, Joanna, and good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining the webinar. Let me know when you can see my screen, and I'll get started. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the GE Health Cloud? I just wanted to sort of start with the big picture of the purpose for the GE Health Cloud platform. So GE is putting out a scalable, secure, connected platform on the cloud, and its sole purpose is to host healthcare-based applications. These include applications that are coming from GE Healthcare businesses itself, as well as applications from independent software vendors just like yourselves. And this will really help you, once your application is hosted on the GE Health Cloud, to reach out to our install base, hundreds and thousands of customers across the globe. The idea of this hackathon, of course, is to make sure that we get new ideas in the healthcare space, in the clinical, operational, and financial areas. GE Healthcare, of course, is a very dominant player in the healthcare industry and healthcare space. But the applications coming from GE Healthcare are in the areas where we already have an install base. By means of this hackathon and by means of opening up the platform to ISVs, we want to really expand that space into areas where we may not go naturally, and also open up opportunities for our customers to get value from the platform to have better patient outcomes. That's the goal of the platform overall. So why should the ISVs join the GE Health Cloud, right? So there are a bunch of technical and commercial advantages here. We'll go into the details a little bit later. But overall, the platform is built for healthcare. This allows you to focus on the core competency of your application itself, and not worry about the plumbing or the cloud hosting, deployment, security, and other aspects of the infrastructure. We take care of that and allow you to focus on investing your valuable finite resources on solving the problem that you want to solve for your customers. In addition, on the commercial side, of course, you get access to GE's broad installed customer base, hundreds of thousands of customers across the world. So that's a real commercial advantage here. So I want to talk a little bit about what is the platform doing to enable partners to deploy their applications on the cloud. First things, we are a complete cloud-hosted platform, and the applications we are looking at to partner with have to be cloud-enabled, meaning hosted in the cloud in some shape or form. We will have a managed API gateway. So we have a bunch of capabilities we will be exposing by means of an SDK, and every API call will be metered and managed through a gateway. We will be having capabilities for federated and social identity management, single sign-on using SAML and so on. So using those, we can integrate with the customers or the healthcare systems LDAP or the user management system that they already have without having to maintain one ourselves or you having to maintain one yourself. That's the real advantage here. We also have extensive coverage for business operations.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. This is Joanna. A couple of the participants are telling us they can't read the slides. Is it possible to enter full screen view so that the content is more clear?
Absolutely. Is that a little better?
Right now, I can't see it yet.
Yes, it is much better.
All right.
Okay.
That's more clear. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for pointing that out. On the business operations side, we have comprehensive coverage for subscription and metering. So what I mean by that is you may want to sell your application purely based as a software as a service. You may decide to charge your customers based on the number of users in the system, or the number of logins they have in the application, or a certain parameter that is a business metric that you decide is best to use for your application. So we provide complete metering of that metric, and we also sort of give you a report at a certain frequency, monthly, annually, whatever that works for you. And then you can sort of bill your customer based on that metric and also count other metrics that are essential to your application. Going forward, we will also be adding online subscription capabilities, but that's on the roadmap in the future. In terms of collaboration for the development partner to work with the Health Cloud development team, we will be publishing everything on Confluence pages. Our code is on GitHub, so it's very much accessible. Most folks are used to these tools, and we are using them such that working with other development partners becomes very easy. And we will also be providing managed access to continuous integration, continuous deployment, continuous testing, providing for complete penetration testing tools for applications hosted on the cloud, taking care of security and compliance audits on the cloud, for not just for the platform, but for all the applications hosted as well. So that's taken care of as well. Of course, finally, to host your application in our cloud, we will be, you can Dockerize or containerize your application and host it. We will be providing you with partner accounts. You will be getting access to as much compute, as much storage as you want. And most of the services will be provided in a serverless manner and shall be exposed as microservices. So every service is contained doing only one thing that it's supposed to do. And you utilize it through the API that we expose. And you get access to as much storage, compute, and what other things that you expect from a public cloud provider. So all of those will be provided. In terms of actual functionality for healthcare applications, what do we have on the Health Cloud? So first and foremost, we are taking care of connectivity to on-premise data that a healthcare system will have. So for example, a healthcare system may have a ton of imaging data on-premise residing in their PACS system. Or they may have a ton of other patient reports, informations on their EMR system. So we will be providing connectivity tools to these existing on-premise systems, allowing that data to be then ingested into the cloud, wherein your application can act on that data. So that connectivity will be taken care of by us. We will also have generic file transfer capabilities. So any PDFs, other files that have to be bulk uploaded or have to be uploaded from any other system into the cloud, we will have connectivity tools for that as well. Once the data is in the cloud, we provide lifecycle management for the data. We provide extensive support for building data catalogs and data collections, as well as support to any specific healthcare payload data in formats that we expect, like DICOM, HL7, and so on. So all of that will be provided in the cloud itself. We will also have extensive configuration for users, organizations, and devices. So you can assign authorization policies based on role. You can have privileged access policies. You can decide which devices reside at what site for your application and who are authorized to access or connect to those devices. All of that can be configured in the cloud itself. We also have extensive coverage for business operations. I previously touched upon that, things like subscription policies, metering of your application. Those services are also covered in the Health Cloud. And finally, and most importantly, we take care of all the compliance and security needs for a healthcare platform and healthcare application. What I mean by that is that if your application is hosted in the US, we make sure we comply with all the regulations that are required for a platform to be hosted on the cloud in the United States. If we go to another country, and I'm just going to pick a name, let's say Australia or UK, we will make sure that the platform complies with the local regulations in place in that geography, so that you don't have to worry about, hey, how do I now take my application to a customer in Australia or Singapore or Japan? When we go to those geographies, we make sure we comply with the local regulations that are in place, with the data policies. A lot of countries now have policies that data cannot leave a certain geography or a certain continent or whatever. We will make sure that when the Health Cloud is available there, we comply with that. In addition, the privacy regulations are taken care of. Who gets access, HIPAA, CE mark, TGA in Australia will take care of any privacy regulations that are in place in those geographies as well. And most importantly, security. We comply with over 400 plus NIST controls. We are putting in top of the line security controls in place. And we will expose those more as we get going with the applications that are launched in the Health Cloud. The real advantage here is that you as an independent software vendor can now focus on your core competency of solving the problem that you are focused on, and not have to worry about all these plumbing and infrastructure things that are required of any healthcare application. So that's the real technical advantage we are providing here with the Health Cloud. In addition, of course, there's the commercial advantage that once you are in the Health Cloud, there is exposure to all the existing customer install base. They get possible access to use your application if they want to, and you don't have to again worry about how do I sell to every healthcare system and so on. So that's of course the other commercial advantage. So we wanted to give you a highlight and a preview of what the Health Cloud means, what services are potentially going to be available, and I would really like to hear any questions that you may have in terms of services, deployment, anything else.
Great, thank you so much, Anish. That was excellent. And we're going to open it up now for general Q&A. If there's anything we haven't touched on today, or other questions that you've been hoping we can answer for you, now is the right time to do that. So feel free again to type it into the chat window on the right sidebar of the broadcast screen on YouTube. And we are going to kick that off now. So it looks like we have one question from Stephanie, who asks us, what time and work investment will be required to migrate my app to the GE Health Cloud if I'm accepted into the partnership alliance?
So firstly, I mean, it's of course a little bit subjective, but if you have an existing application, I assume it's a cloud-based application, we will have to make sure that you can containerize it in some shape or form. We will offer you a partner account wherein that application can be hosted. And then you will have to make sure that you use our API to get access to the data that's in the Health Cloud. Keep in mind what we're trying to do here is that you have to sort of work on the data that is inside the Health Cloud platform. You're not able to use data that's somewhere else. So that is the one change you will have to do, is sort of rewire your data access layer, if I can put it that way. And outside of that, if you need any connectivity needs to bring in any specific data from somewhere else into the cloud, we have API for that. So you will have to work on that and get data into the cloud using that API. And then once you have access to data, your application probably does what it has to do, and that doesn't change in any shape or form. So we don't expect it to be a heavy lift. We've worked with a couple of partners to make sure that this approach is very workable and scalable. So it's not a whole lot of effort. It's very much something that you would have to do when you're porting your application, let's say, from one platform to another, just taking care of the plumbing on the outside, and your core application stays as is.
Thank you, Anish. It looks like we've actually gotten a bunch more questions rolling in as you answered that. The first is, does the Health Cloud leverage AWS as an IaaS platform?
So we leverage multiple infrastructure partners. It is completely transparent to our development partners what infrastructure partners we use. Of course, all of this is built using GE's Predix digital platform, and Predix in turn works with multiple partners, right? So that changes over time. We will leverage multiple partners, but that's completely independent to our Health Cloud development partners as such.
Okay, thanks, Anish. The next question is from Liz. She's asking, are there already health systems signed on? If so, how many? And what is the timeline for them to be on the platform?
So the Health Cloud, the first tranche of the Health Cloud applications are going to go live in the next few months. We have a lot of early adopter customers signed up who have signed contracts. I don't think I can disclose the names of the customers or the exact number, but we have them lined up starting in April of this year. We're already doing a lot of testing with those customers of the initial applications. And it's starting out from US, and then we'll expand into other parts of the world.
Great. And then Michael is asking what databases are supported on the GE Health Cloud, because his existing solution is based on Oracle.
So we don't support Oracle right now. We support a bunch of NoSQL databases. We also support S3 kind of interface. Somebody asked about Amazon before, so we support S3 kind of data access layer. Oracle right now is not supported, unfortunately, but we can look into adding additional support for additional databases based on need. Right now, we support PostgreSQL, we support MySQL, we support S3 kind of interfaces, but not Oracle yet. The way I see it is that based on need, we can easily add support for additional databases, and that will be incremental based on what the business case comes up.
Okay, sounds good, thanks. So just to reiterate, it sounds like you support SQL, Postgre, MySQL, and can potentially add support for other databases in the future. Stephanie followed up with a question asking, how will GE's existing provider network customers come into contact with the GE Health Cloud? So what's the interface like? And is their use of the platform and its offerings guaranteed?
So I'll take the first question.
Sure, I'll just read it again. How will GE's existing provider network customers come into contact with the offerings on the GE Health Cloud? Is their use of the platform guaranteed?
So there's no guaranteed use of the platform, right? We will be sort of making it very easy for our customers to offer the Health Cloud applications in such a way that there's minimal sort of disruption, and they seamlessly integrate into their existing workflows. So for example, they may have data coming into their fax, it gets sent into the Health Cloud for further processing, and they get some results back. So we want to make these kind of workflows extremely seamless. We don't, there's of course no guarantee, because it's the customer's choice that they want to use a service or not, because of course these are all added value on services, right? So that's for sure. But our goal is to make it easy to use and easy to adopt.
Okay, thanks. Are there any other questions from our audience members right now? Please type them into the chat window so we can address them. So the next question coming in is, how many healthcare providers and networks are currently in GE's customer base?
Anish, you want me to?
Yeah, we should. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good. Okay. So that information is available to you. I mean, to give you an exact number is not, that's not something that we would be able to quote. but you can find out what GE's portfolio look like, what is our footprint on GE.com, and you will understand that what is our healthcare portfolio looks like. It's not something that we can just give you one number to quantify that question.
Okay. It looks like we have another question regarding how the GE Health Cloud will be differentiated from Predix and the Predix environment.
So Predix is GE's overall digital platform, right? Predix is built to serve all of GE's businesses that include oil and gas, power and water, healthcare, aviation, and also work with third-party applications for things like asset management, operations optimization, and so on. The Health Cloud leverages Predix certainly. The goal of the Health Cloud is to make sure it's easy to build applications for healthcare. So things that I just went over, dealing with healthcare-specific payloads like DICOM and HL7 built out of the box. So that's not something you will get if you work on Predix directly. But Health Cloud, which leverages Predix for everything that Predix does, and in addition sort of gives you the flexibility and capabilities required in the healthcare industry. That's how Health Cloud is sort of positioned better for the healthcare industry use. That was one example. Another example is making sure you can connect to hospital on-premise data, ingest the right data sets in there, seamlessly integrating back into the hospital workflows and so on. So Predix does a lot of things in general as a general digital platform with focus on certain areas, but the sole purpose of Health Cloud is targeted application development for healthcare industry, seamlessly integrating those apps back in the healthcare workflows, and so on. So that's how sort of Health Cloud is positioned on top of Predix.
All right, thanks. Just moving on to another few questions that have come in. Does the Health Cloud support any APIs for pushing data to the Health Cloud platform from mobile devices and vice versa?
So at this time, we have general API that we plan to publish to get data in. We will be adding support for directly getting data from mobile devices in the future. That's not on the initial roadmap release item, but that's something we have targeted. And it's a very good question. That's going to be very important, and we understand that.
Okay. Tom asks, are there any comments on FHIR?
Absolutely. So the way we will support HL7 will be through FHIR, which is a web-based access to HL7 data. So absolutely, that will be the way we will start with HL7. Yes.
Okay. And Michael asks, will the GE Health Cloud support IoT-type data streams that are deployed for healthcare uses?
Can you please repeat the question, Joanna?
I'm sorry, can I repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Sure. Will the GE Health Cloud support Internet of Things data streams that are deployed for healthcare uses?
Yes, absolutely. That is going to be one of our main use cases to target. I can also give you an example to sort of make it more tangible. For example, let's say there is a EKG device in the hospital. And for us, that is an IoT device. And it is sort of streaming EKG data. It's a time series data, right? And that data has to be brought to the Health Cloud. So we will offer the right tools to make sure that kind of data from a device or a thing in the hospital or a clinic or at home can now be ingested into the Health Cloud. The same thing applies for data coming in from other things or other devices like a CT scanner. It spits out image data that can be ingested in using our connectivity tools. And that is our IoT strategy for healthcare.
Just to add to that, the previous question, like how many customers we have, just so that someone understands the magnitude of footprint that we have out in the, as far as the imaging data coming from, we have 500,000 imaging machines out in the field. So that's our install base, just so that, from IoT perspective, that's a huge opportunity for us to connect to those machines. And that's our footprint, basically. So when you talk about customer base, that's gives you a little bit of an idea of how big GE Healthcare is. Yeah.
Thanks, Fishrut. We had another question from Tom, which I asked him to elaborate, but he just says, any comments on blockchain?
So blockchain is something we have been looking at very actively. We believe that the distributed ledger system of blockchain will be very important going forward in the healthcare insurance market and keeping the integrity of medical record data and so on. Initially, at least in the first wave of the health cloud capabilities, we are not doing anything with blockchain per se, but that is something we are very closely monitoring as the development going on in the healthcare industry.
Okay. Tom, I hope that answered your question. If not, please give us some follow-up. So we're going to hang out here for another 15 or 20 minutes. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to send those along to us. And if you're watching this on the recording after the fact and you weren't able to get a chance to ask your question during the live broadcast, please feel free to shoot us over your question at support@devpost.com or on the discussion forum on the competition website, and we will respond in good time. So we have another question that asks, how is GE planning to provide access to the patient and imaging data?
So if I understand the question is, how do we provide access to imaging data?
Yes, and I believe you also are supporting patient data, anonymized patient data.
Right. So we will essentially leverage the protocols or the payloads that are existing in the healthcare world. So most imaging data today comes in a format called as DICOM, and it resides either in a PACS device, which is a picture archiving communication system, as it's called, in the hospital system, and all of or a vendor neutral archive or something like that. All of these systems talk the protocol called DICOM, and we will have DICOM connectivity capabilities built into our gateway. So we will have sort of a gateway, a very lightweight agent that will be deployed in the hospital that ingests these, that talks DICOM and then gets the images into the cloud. So that's one way to do it. Same thing we will be doing with patient data that will be coming through, like, say, HL7. So we will be using the protocol FHIR on HL7 and then getting that data. We, like I also showed in my slides before, we also have capabilities for generic file uploads and file ingestion. So that will be another way for somebody to programmatically send data to our file ingestion API and get data in. So you can leverage any of these methods in any of these APIs based on your payload, the workflow, and so on.
Thanks, Anish. So Tom wants us to just address what are the categories for submissions, which one is for patient engagement. So they're all potentially for patient engagement, but I guess the most obvious one for that would be clinical outcomes. So the three categories are financial, operational, and clinical. There's a description of example use cases on the homepage, but just to review those, clinical means solutions that help providers improve clinical outcomes to positively impact care throughout the patient's journey. That's probably the one that's closest to what you're speaking of. Financial applications are designed to help providers with their financial needs, including revenue cycle management, EDI, and tools for value-based payment models. And the operational category is designed around solutions that empower health systems to manage their workforce, to lower labor costs, improve the quality of care, and deliver efficiencies. So if you had a question that's not answered by what I just said, let me know. So the next question that came in is, please elaborate on royalty-free, non-exclusive, worldwide, the license to display publicly and use the submission. So that's referring to our rights to publicize the submission after the end of the competition, but the intellectual property rights remain with the submitter, not with the sponsor or DevPost. If you have follow-up questions, just shoot us an email to support@devpost.com and we can go into further detail about that. So Michael has a question. He says, we're currently working with a medical center for deployment of a healthcare Internet of Things demo project, which would be a clinical application. Who's the best person to engage with at GE to discuss the use of the GE Health Cloud?
A couple ways. I think one is we encourage you to participate in this hackathon or the competition, which DevPost is working with us on. And the second is, of course, there is a link on the GE Health Cloud page. Vishut, you can elaborate on what that is and how partners can get in touch with us from that work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is definitely a contact us, like what Anish is referring to. You can contact us via the link or the filling out a form, and then someone will get back to you to discuss that further. If you have questions or if you have other questions beyond this entering this challenge, that would be the best way to do that.
Sorry, Vishru, what link are you referring to?
That's on the gehealthcloud.com contact us link. So you would go there, and then once you have your question or that you want to clarification or answers to, just type that in and someone will get back to you on that for sure. If it's outside of this challenge, that would be the best way to do that. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. The next question that came in from Mohitras is, does the Health Cloud currently have any analytics services or any services like that planned for the future?
Absolutely. So I did not include analytics as any separate item. Analytics is completely part of the platform itself. We are looking, and I'll just elaborate a little bit so that folks know what kind of analytics we are planning to build into the Health Cloud. There are three parts to it. First is giving the simple BI or business intelligence kind of capabilities to applications in the Health Cloud. So if you have your data in the Health Cloud, you can slice and dice it in different ways and have dashboarding capabilities and so on. The second analytics capability is sort of the ability to run your algorithms in the Health Cloud, what we call as analytics as a service. So you get the data in, you run a specific algorithm on the data, and you give the results out. And we have like data orchestration, algorithm orchestration capabilities. You can tie one algorithm to another. The output of one feeds to another if a certain condition is met. If it's not met, maybe it goes somewhere else, does something else, and so on. So we have all of that orchestration that will be built in. So that's the second category. The third category, which is by far the most ambitious and most exciting in the healthcare space, is around the area of deep learning and machine learning. And we are working extensively on that with the right partners to sort of leverage neural nets and other deep learning capabilities to solve really complex problems. So that's the third area of analytics that we're focused on. We will be exposing these to our partners and customers over time through the right set of applications and APIs respectively. But that's something that will come a little bit over time after the initial applications that are launched.
Thanks. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I hope that answered the question.
Great, thank you. I also just posted the link that Vishru was mentioning on the GE Healthcare site for getting in touch with them directly. There's a follow-up question. If you permit, can I request how a typical mobile app will transfer their data to the Health Cloud and get back data from the Health Cloud?
For a mobile device or in general? Sorry, I missed the initial part.
A mobile app.
Right. So mobile app or any app, if you're using our API, then your data ingestion and output of anything from the cloud back doesn't matter if it's a mobile app or any other app, right? As long as you use the connectivity API that we have, it doesn't matter. So we will have APIs to sort of get data in and get data out, and you have to just make sure you work with that API.
Excellent, thanks. I'm just, while we're waiting for further questions to come in through the chat window, I had spoken with an ISV who's working on a platform that helps life sciences and pharmaceutical companies execute clinical trials. So something he asked me was whether GE's existing customer base in the healthcare realm includes life sciences and pharma companies or not.
Absolutely. If you look up GE Healthcare on the website, GE Healthcare has 4 main divisions. Life sciences is people don't know this. People think GE Healthcare is all about imaging, but
Right.
life sciences is actually one of our fastest growing business. All our customers are pharma companies. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, and that's definitely part of our focus.
Okay, thank you. So there was a follow-up question about data transfer, saying, how do I get details for the Health Cloud API? As far as I know, the documentation is not yet publicly released. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it will be released after the first release of GE's own internal healthcare application. So stay tuned. It will be coming out in the next few months. And it will be published, and you will get access to it when we publish it.
Okay. Stephanie asks us, am I required to submit user testing use cases, market data, etc.? So I'll answer this one. The answer is no, you're not required to, but it's strongly recommended in order to give the judges a sense of how your app has been operating or will operate in the marketplace. So we encourage you to submit anything that could support the impression that your app positively impacts patient outcomes. So that could be through case studies, user testing, market data, etc. And we suggest that you limit that part of the submission to just 5 pages, so we don't need a, an enormous amount of data or huge substantiation, but just to give us a snapshot of how your app has been functioning when it's in the hands of providers and patients. Rama asks, does the Health Cloud support MATLAB-based analytics programs?
It will. When I was referring to algorithms that will be hosted, they can be written in Python or MATLAB or any such language that are typically used for analytics. So we plan to support most of the common ones, yes. And MATLAB is definitely on our radar.
Okay, excellent. So the follow-up about the API. For the hackathon, we have to use the API. Please advise how we go about it. I think that's a point of confusion. So you are not required to use any of the Health Cloud APIs in order to participate in the hackathon. You're just required to submit an existing or new healthcare application that fits into one of the 3 categories: clinical, financial, or operational. There is no API or SDK that is required in order for your app to be eligible for prizes. So this competition is centered around identifying partners for the GE Health Cloud. It's not actually focused on integrating the Health Cloud into your application just yet. I hope that cleared that up, but if not, please let me know if you have another question. While we're waiting for more questions to come into the chat window, Vishrut, can you tell us a little bit about the potential for partnership in terms of marketing and business opportunities for the winners of this competition?
Sure. So some of those, we are working, like someone asked about Predix and how it's related to GE Health Cloud. So I just want to go back and touch on that. So we are working with the Predix team as they are defining their ISV program. We will also piggyback on what larger predict team is doing, exactly how we will help our partners to go market with us, or joint marketing, account mapping, and so on and so forth. So a lot of the details are still being worked out with the Predix team as they work on their ISV program. So as we get into the next couple of months, I'll be able to share with you more details about what exactly the program looks like. One thing is for sure that we are looking to create multiple tiers within the program, so that, depending on the commitment and the revenue commitment and so on and so forth. So we'll have different tiers for that program. But all that is being worked on right now, Joanna. So details are forthcoming.
Thanks, Fishrud. So I just want to follow up here. Rama said, just to clarify, we don't have to deploy in the Health Cloud. We just have to share the solution that we have developed. Yes, that is right. So you need to provide us some sort of testing link, and there are instructions for how to do that on the fact page of the competition, but you do not have to deploy to the GE Health Cloud. And there's another question related to that. It would be executable only, not the actual source code. Yes, that's correct. We don't require you to submit the source code to be considered for this competition. Mohitros asks us, how does the Health Cloud address data security for in-motion data while data is being transferred to the cloud, and for data at rest in the cloud?
Right, so we follow the very high-grade encryption practices for both data in motion and data at rest. We have 256 AES with encryption on both sides when the data is sent from our gateway into the cloud, and when data is kept in the cloud. We follow the public-private key infrastructure. We publish keys. We will work with our partners. When they bring in their data, they will get a private key that they only have access to, and so on. So it's very comprehensive. Security is first and foremost in our mind. And when the API is opened up, we will have additional details on how it will be secured. And when we work with partners, we will be collaborating on them to make sure they follow the same high level of high-grade practices around security for both data in rest and motion, like I said.
Excellent, thank you. So we're going to stick around for another couple minutes if there are additional questions. Feel free to send those along. I'm just going to post the link to the testing details about how to provide testing access to your app. So here's that link. While we're waiting for additional questions to come in, I just wanted to address another one that I've been talking to a couple of startups about, and they asked me, is it appropriate for us to enter the competition given that we're already at a late stage of development, we're on our third round of funding, and we've got an existing customer base. does that mean we're not appropriate for this competition? And my response was, you should certainly still submit. I think that there are rampant opportunities through this competition to expand your customer base, and the fact that you actually have a market presence and can provide evidence of how your app has performed successfully is actually an advantage rather than a point against you. That being said, the competition is of course open not just to established companies and startups, but to individual entrepreneurs and software developers who are just working on a great idea for healthcare and are interested in how the GE Health Cloud can help them advance their business goals and provide technical support and infrastructure. So hope that clarifies that a bit as well. So there's a new question that just came in, which is, what differentiates the GE Health Cloud from competitors?
So a few things. There's on the technical side, I just went through the APIs or the services that we plan to expose. I don't believe there's any cloud provider that will give you so many things out of the box to build a healthcare application specifically. You can work on any of the existing public cloud providers, but you then not only have to worry about your core area of focus, you also have to worry about all the standard plumbing, infrastructure deployment, hosting, security, privacy, compliance, etc. Right? We take care of all of that. So we definitely have a competitive advantage there. And secondly, the other thing which Vishruth was pointing out, which is once you're in the health cloud, there's visibility and access potentially to all the GE customer base. And that is a huge commercial advantage as well. So that definitely distinguishes us from the competition in multiple ways.
Great, thank you. There was just a follow-up question from Prince, who asks who the jury members are going to be. Are they GE employees or others? You can actually view the full jury list on the homepage of the hackathon at gehealthcloud.devpost.com. But just to give you a sense of who they are, the Chief Marketing Officer for Global Services and Customer Advocacy at GE Healthcare, April Dunn, the Managing Director of GE Ventures, Noah Lewis, as well as non-GE employees, including the CIO for the Mayo Clinic, Christopher Ross, and the EVP and Chief Medical Officer at United Healthcare, Dr. Sam Ho. So, but again, you can review all of the judges and their titles and names on the homepage of the hackathon site. So we just have a few minutes left here. I encourage everyone to ask a question, however big or small, and we're happy to address that now. And again, if you're watching this as a recording after the fact and don't see your question addressed here, we're always standing by to help out at support@devpost.com, on the discussion forum of the competition website, or on the River channel of the competition website. Okay, so it looks like there are no additional questions, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and joining us today. We are very thrilled to have you participate in the GE Health Cloud Innovation Challenge and show us all the amazing applications you're working on in the healthcare space. And we hope this has been helpful. If you have additional questions, please do send them our way at the channels I described just a second ago. And we are very, very excited to see your submissions coming in over the next few weeks. Thanks so much, and this is Joanna signing off for DevPost.